Well, Michael, thanks for joining us. First and foremost, how are you? How are the family, and how's lockdown been so far for you guys?
Yeah, everyone's well here in Edinburgh. Both my daughters are fit and healthy, and my wife as well. We're getting through it. Exercising every day, or trying to exercise, and my girls are obviously homeschooling at the minute. They're doing that remotely with the benefit of online technology and how the school has set things up. So yeah, we're getting through it, but some days are more difficult than others, as I imagine the same for everyone else.
It's been quite a week for you personally. You're no longer an international manager. Was that an easy decision for you to take ultimately?
Yeah, it's never an easy decision, and there was I suppose, a degree of finality to the whole thing, which was probably had been lingering around the situation for a while. But you know, it was a big decision I made in November to take over at Stoke City. So at that point, I knew that I was going to be leaving the Northern Ireland job. The agreement was for me to take the playoff games in March, which I would have loved the opportunity to do that. I think it was feasible for me to do that and not distract from the situation at Stoke City. But equally, once that became not the case, and the games were postponed, obviously, it's very difficult going forward to plan for when the international may or may not be. I think the projected date is in October, and by October, obviously, I anticipate being in the throes of a new season with Stoke City, and I think it was in the interest of everyone, both Stoke, obviously the Irish Football Association, and myself, to be honest, that you know we brought the close to the whole situation and allows particularly the IFA to move on, and obviously you know gives them time to appoint someone and prepare as best they can for those very important games when they come around.
How do you look back on your time in charge of Northern Ireland?
Yeah, it was a wonderful time. It's a great chance when you get the chance to manage your country. It's very special. I was given that opportunity relatively early in my management career, and you know at a relatively young age for an international manager. So I had to learn very much on the job, particularly in the early part of the job. That was very challenging. We were in a bad place when I took over, and it took time to change that. It took, you know, the first campaign was very challenging. But since then, you know, the next three campaigns have been hugely positive, with qualification for France and being very unluckily beaten in the World Cup playoff for Russia 2018, and now obviously with the chance of a playoff again to go to Euro 2021 as it's now going to be. So to see the development of the association there was you know, immense pleasure and pride in that, because you know the redevelopment of the stadium and the atmosphere now that we have at games in Belfast is something very special. And as I say, the team responded to that. I think our win rate and in terms of competitive qualification games is extremely high. You know, we've only been beaten essentially by the bigger nations, you know, the Germanys and the Hollands and people like that. So we've held our own with a lot of the other countries in Europe, and for a small nation, that's something we can be very proud of.
And I noticed today that even the First Minister, Arlene Foster, saying very positive things about you. So you must have done something right.
Yeah, Arlene was a big fan of the team, and obviously was at the games in France. Yeah, and look, you know, Northern Ireland it's been well documented, obviously, the history that Northern Ireland has, and hopefully the team, you know, brought a lot of people together, it brought both sides of the community together, and that was something that, you know, I'm proud of if we did manage to do that. And it's very important that, you know, young players who come through and who grew up in Northern Ireland believe that they should play for Northern Ireland, and you do that by having a positive experience at international level. I grew up watching the World Cup of '82 and '86, and it inspired me to want to play for Northern Ireland, and I was fortunate enough to do that. And then, you know, I think you need that, and you need presence at a tournament to inspire a generation of players. And for 30 years we'd been away from it, and you know, so there was a whole generation of supporters that hadn't had that experience as well. And you know, I think we see the benefit of that now.
Is that you finished with international football, or do you envisage yourself going back at some stage in the future?
No, I would never say that I'm finished. I did enjoy it. I'd always said that I would like to the experience of managing another nation as well. It would be a great challenge to manage another nation, or to go back into the job at Northern Ireland maybe in the distant future. But for me, to be honest, I've been very selective in terms of coming into English football. I had the opportunity on a few occasions to leave the Northern Ireland job over the 8 years and come into club football. I think England is where the game is particularly at this minute in time, with the strength of the Premier League, but also the strength of the Championship, and what's at stake within the Championship in terms of getting back to the Premier League. And Stoke presented me with a great opportunity, albeit that the club was at the bottom of the league at the time. I knew the strength of the club. I knew obviously the strength of the ownership, and where the vision of the ownership was very important for me. And so when I had the opportunity, and I have met the coach family and people at the club, Tony Scholes, you just get a sense that it's the right opportunity, and I felt that when Stoke offered me the job, that this was the one that I would leave for, having obviously stayed away from other opportunities. So now that I'm in the English game, I want to make it as positive as possible. I want to stay in it as long as possible. I've not really been a manager that's hopped about jobs. I've kind of, I saw my contract at Shamrock Rovers 3 years, and I obviously was in the national team job for 8 years. And, I'd like to think that at Stoke City, I'll be there for a number of years, and hopefully, obviously the long-term ambition is to try and take the club back to the Premier League.